In my last video, I went over the rapture and how Christians misuse 1 Thessalonians 4:16 and 17 to talk about the rapture. I focused only on the part about, so shall they be ever with the King, or ever with Christ. And I explained how Christ is going to be in the 1,000-year reign on earth. So if the rapture was to happen and they're whisked away to heaven, that can't be, because Christ is going to be on earth. And what Christians do, they read 1 Thessalonians and they just misconstrue the entire verse, but I only focused on that one part. Now let's talk about meeting the King in the air. Let's read 1 Thessalonians 4:17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the King in the air, and so shall we ever be with the King. Christians take this now and they run with it, and they'll say things like, well, that's what this means, to get whisked up into the clouds and to meet the King in the air, or to meet Christ in the air. Now, what does that mean in the clouds? Are you going to be floating around in the air with wings and flying? What does that mean? So let's go through some other verses and see if we can highlight what that means and make more sense of it than just floating around. Let's read Acts chapter 1, verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven, as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yeshua, or Christ, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. We see the word cloud here again. He was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. What is this cloud? The cloud is how the angels travel back and forth. The cloud is a vehicle. Christ, according to Acts, is going to come in like manner. The way he left in this vehicle, or what they called a cloud. You have to imagine that when you see technology that no one's ever seen before, more advanced than anything that you're using, you're going to come up with names for it. UFO, spaceship, whatever you want to call it, you're going to come up with a name. And the scriptures have interpreted the word as cloud. Now, we know in the English language, we use so many different words to describe the same thing, right? And that's where so many things are so confusing when it comes to the English language. So the word cloud here is just a vehicle, how he was taken up. And then the cloud left the atmosphere. They were still staring up at this vehicle, looking to see if they could see it, and the vehicle left. And then the angel explained to the disciples, or the people who were following him, that the same way he left is the same way he's going to return. Let's see if we can get more insight to this cloud or vehicle so we can understand what it means that when Christ gathers his elect from the 4 winds, how they will be collected. Let's read Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 3. The word of the Most High came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river of Chebar. And the hand of the Most High was there upon him. And behold, a whirlwind came from the north, a great cloud, and a fire unfolding itself. And the brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. When we're reading this now, Ezekiel is trying to describe what he saw. He said a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud. He saw a fire enfolding itself. And so when you look at a spaceship, when it's leaving the ground, the only way you could describe it is that it's unfolding itself. It looks very unusual. It's not like when you light a fire in a camp or a house or anything that is burning. It's just
Booster ignition and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future
rocket ship. When it's leaving the Earth, initially, there's a fire going like roundabout in circles. It's hard to describe. The disciples saw technology that was beyond their time and had a tough time explaining it. Ezekiel saw these angels that were coming out of this vehicle, and he's doing his best to describe it. Now let's read Revelation chapter 19, verse 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he does judge and make war. And the armies which were in heaven followed him on white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Now I've explained that Revelation so many times is just an analogy. Christ is not coming on a horse. Christ is coming, according to Acts, the same way he left, coming in these clouds or vehicles. When John sees the image, he sees horses, but it's not going to be horses flying through the air. It's vehicles going through the air. And the same way Christ was picked up in Acts is the same way the Israelites will be gathered in the end with these same vehicles. And his angels travel in these vehicles. So when John sees the vision, he says a white horse. And he says that the armies which are in heaven followed him on white horses. They're coming in these same vehicles. And when you read Obadiah, you know, this number that he's going to be traveling with is 10,000 upon thousands. And this is how they travel back and forth. To sum this all up, the whole idea of the rapture is just misconception, misreadings, misunderstandings by several people that just have been perpetuated throughout history, a lack of understanding of Thessalonians. You're not getting whisked away out of this trouble. As I've said many times on some in my other videos, the war is what takes place. That's why it says in Revelation, in righteousness, he judges and makes war. He's coming to make war. When he comes on earth, they will already be warring. We will have to survive the first part of the war if we're here, if we're alive when this takes place. And then sometime during the war, Christ will come and these vehicles, clouds, or whatever you want to call them, will be picking up his elect from the four corners of the earth. That's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.